Welcome back to another Senior Learning Institute's educational moment, where older adults and their loved ones turn for honest and straightforward information. In just a few minutes, you'll enjoy bite-sized, easily digestible nuggets of knowledge, empowering you to make the right decision the first time. So without further ado, here's our founder, certified senior advisor, seniors real estate specialist, nationally syndicated podcaster and speaker, the advocate you can trust, Mr. Ted Gottlieb.
I've had the pleasure of working with dozens of older adults who decided to sell their homes and move to a senior living community. Most of them were looking forward to the move, but there were others that were less enthusiastic, moving because their kids insisted, a spouse required it, or the house was just too much to handle. No matter the reason for a move to senior living, there's going to be an adjustment period. And who better to advise us on getting acclimated to our new home than someone who has a master's degree in social work, someone who focuses on working with seniors and is a licensed clinical social worker. So Amy New, thanks for sharing your experience with us and your expertise. And with that, let's get right to it. My first question of you is, what are some of the issues that older adults struggle with following a move into a senior living community?
Well, that's a great question. Thanks, Ted. I think the overall issue is really getting comfortable in a new and unfamiliar environment and having that be where you're living and doing everything. And that can come out in a lot of different ways. People can have some trouble adjusting to that. And we can see it. Some red flags can be changes in their eating, either eating too much or too little, appetite changes, sleeping changes. They may not be sleeping as well, and that can lead to a lot of different issues then. Things like impact on concentration and mood, energy level, that kind of thing. Also, we see some increased feelings in nervousness or anxiety or sadness. Everybody's different, and so they respond differently if they're not adjusting very well and are struggling. But those are things to look out for. Some tearfulness. I think also another thing is socialization is a big factor. A lot of times when our loved one moves to a senior community, we see all these opportunities for them to socialize and participate in activities. And then when the time comes, we find them not going to things or withdrawing and really having a difficult time and making friends with other residents. And another thing it can impact last is a sense of purpose. I think sometimes when there's such a major life change like this, just figuring out where we are and what is our meaning and what do we do with our days now. Those are all things that can really be struggles when moving into senior communities.
Right. But I've also seen, I've seen the opposite as well. I've seen people thrive. I've seen people, one woman that I'm thinking about used to be a travel agent, and all of a sudden she's now the one who is arranging for day trips and a variety of trips for her peers. I've had people move into senior living communities that are more like apartment style living, and they said it's kind of like going back to the dorms. I've seen people who have met people or re-met people that they haven't seen in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they're really, I guess, building on those relationships. So I've seen some really, really positive things as well.
Oh gosh. And overall, I would say more people thrive and find that they do. It's great. People who were isolated in their homes and really felt like they wanted to be at home. Once they've made that decision to move and gotten involved and have that socialization, they really love it. And so there's so many positives, Ted. I focus, unfortunately with my job, I focus more on the difficulties with adjustment. But
my glass is often half filled too. So I get it. And the way a lot of these communities are based today is that the strategy is that you've got your apartment or your apartment that you can live in and have your quiet time if you want to, but they're really encouraging you to get out and be social and to take advantage of all the amenities that are there. But if you're not that type of person, you can still, have a nice apartment, live in a safe community, have your meals prepared and all of those. So let me ask you this. So let's flip back to maybe some of the folks whose glasses half empty when they first make the move and they're trying to adjust. What are some of the positive or healthy strategies that can be implemented to cope with these changes?
Yeah, well, I think one of the most important things is really finding a routine, and creating a routine that really helps us feel like life is a little more balanced and normal. And that can be one of the most important things, is finding some consistency. So those are even things, they seem small but make a big difference. Things like going to bed and waking up at the same time each day, eating at scheduled times, making sure you're eating enough. Activities and socialization can also be a really good part of the routine. And most of these communities will put out activity calendars so you can see ahead of time what's coming up. And so you can sit down a month ahead of time even and kind of plan out what you would like to go to. And I think that can be a really wonderful thing. I think that the socialization piece is crucial, in finding some support and feeling good. And like you said, everybody's different. We've got introverts and extroverts, and it's really just a matter of finding your own rhythm and what you're comfortable with in these communities. But if you can identify some activities you're interested in, then you can find other residents with similar interests a lot of times. And then on top of that, you can schedule just one-on-one time with a neighbor where it's not that huge big event, but you still get some of those socialization needs met. And I think also finally is just talking with somebody about how things are really going for you, somebody you trust, and also looking at how your needs are getting met. And this includes, not just the physical needs, it's really the physical, social, emotional, spiritual needs. And looking at making sure those are all getting met through a routine as well.
Right. Yeah, I know some of the communities, I think most communities will do a really good job talking with you one-on-one and finding out who you are, where you've been, what you've done, and they do a really good job putting people together. You might find that somebody went to the same school together, grew up in the same state together, maybe in the same town outside of St. Louis. One was in the military, so they do a really, really good job of getting people together, and all it takes is really one good relationship. And I think that your perspective of things. Let me ask you this. How can someone support their loved one? Let's just say it's my mom or my dad who is going to be making this transition from living in their home to an independent or assisted living community. How do I assist them during this transition period?
Yeah, I think a big key to that, Ted, is really being supportive rather than directive. So you can be there for them to help them find their own way. You can be there to listen and encourage. But keep in mind, as long as it doesn't involve a safety issue, don't force them or guilt them or anything like that to do something they're not yet ready to do. A lot of time that can end up backfiring. And it's always, I know we all have the best of intentions when we say, Mom, you need to do this. Mom, there's this going on. Go ahead and do that. It's coming from the best place, but a lot of times our loved ones can hear that as, well, she's telling me what I have to do and I don't want to, and they'll dig their heels in a little bit there. But you can go ahead and just be there to listen and support. And a good strategy for this too is looking at asking open-ended questions rather than those simple yes/no questions. And so the key words there are, who, what, when, how. Those all start a good open-ended question. And this helps, your loved one really have to find their own words and express what's really going on and how they're doing. They can't just say yes and leave it at that. They can't say no and not give more information. But they can really find their own language to express their days and their situations. And then that also lets you know what areas might be helpful to further encourage or explore with them.
Yeah, and I would think that those questions and time will really, really help. But let's just say someone just keeps feeling overwhelmed following their move
Yeah.
to a senior living community. What's the next step?
Yeah, I think, like we talked about, creating the routine, helping them get started with a routine that can help create the sense of normalcy. And then also, really, if you aren't comfortable talking with, your son or daughter about those issues, like you said, there's so many great people who work at the senior community who can really link you up either with other residents or be there to help support you too. And I think when you're there using that resource, it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a difficult transition and it's overwhelming. But when you're able to talk through it and identify options, that can help you feel like you have some control over the situation too. And if that person that you're talking with can't help you, they can at least help you then link to somebody else who could. So that's, in my experience, that's sometimes where I've come in, that, a resident struggling, they talked with a nurse or an activities director, and the activities director feels like they could really use some one-on-one attention to talk through more deeply what's going on and how to help.
Right. Yeah, it seems as though a lot of times people will make this move for a variety of reasons as well. I mean, first you think
Mhm.
about the move itself. You left a house or an apartment that you've been in for a long time. A lot of the stuff that you used to have is no longer there. You might have just lost a spouse or someone that you're close to. There's so many different dynamics that are going on here. Um,
Yeah.
and then you make the move. So I think your ideas of really communicating, depending on the senior living community, to ask some questions and to see what's going on and to possibly raise some flags, and for the family to continue to be there. I think that's really important as
Yeah.
well, because I've seen situations where they're no longer living in their home, but with some planning, there's rooms in the senior living community that they could use for dining purposes or for parties or for family
Yeah.
get-togethers. So you can have people over, and that now is an extension of your home, and you can throw a party and not have to do a darn thing to it if you plan well enough. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of ways that this being your new home needs to be welcome to your family, and kids, grandkids, and everybody else needs to come visit you to really
Yeah.
help you get through this process and for you to feel more comfortable in your new place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's just a matter of once that's part of getting comfortable too, is just exploring what's an option at these communities. I mean, there are places that have, yeah, like extra dining rooms or a library or a courtyard, where grandkids or great grandkids can come and still run around and you can watch them. There are so many options. And I think when it's so new to us, the experience, we don't see those because we don't know they exist. And there's so much that people can discover once they're looking and getting adjusted.
Oh yeah, and these communities, a lot of times people are thinking about going to a senior living community, and they think back to when they were kids or teens, and they went to a nursing home and they saw somebody there and how depressing of an environment that might have been. When you go to today's senior living communities, they are nice. If I could qualify,
They're
if I could
beautiful.
afford it, I would go there in a heartbeat. So if you haven't been to one, make an appointment, go see an independent living community, and you'll get a feel for how nice these communities can be. And there's all
Yeah.
sorts of different levels out there. Hey, Amy, I want to thank you so much for your insight. We could keep going, but we like to try to keep these short, so we'll have you come back for another one. But if someone wants to reach out to you and learn a little bit more about adjusting to senior living community, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. Well, they can email me, and my email is amy.new and the number 1 @gmail.com. Our website is wcpastl.com, and our office number is 314-275-8255. 8599.
Great. And I've been to your website. The website's great, provides a lot of really good information. A lot of that is going to be on our Senior Learning Institute website that we're almost finished updating. So we're going to get some of that on there as well. But I highly recommend that folks get on the WCPASTL.com website and check out all the free resources that are there. At the Senior Learning Institute, we strive to provide the straightforward and unbiased information you need to make smart decisions the first time. You know, we're at a point where we can't really afford to make mistakes when it comes to these type of transitions, and we try to take the risk out of those by connecting you to the resources that you need. So anything from staying put to selling the home in any condition, estate and financial planning, care providers, estate sales, clean out services, you name it, anywhere in the US, we will connect you without cost or obligation. To learn more about that, please check us out at the seniorlearninginstitute.com. Oh, and I want to put a shameless plug in for free realestateagentfinder.com. That's where I connect home sellers anywhere in the US to experienced real estate agents. It's just one of the ways that I help keep the lights on. Just reach out to me at freaf.com, freef.com. Until next time, I'm Ted Gottlieb, Certified Senior Advisor, Seniors Real Estate Specialist, and founder of the Senior Learning Institute.